Now let's lay out the main area of our page. So the first thing we want is we want some padding around it so it looks a little bit more beautiful. So I'm going to come over here, and that element is called main. So I'm going to put a padding of, let's say, 50 pixels all around it. 50 pixels, save, refresh, and you see it's slightly better. The next thing we want is we want this particular section to be on the left hand side and this particular aside element to be on the right hand side. All right, so if I come back to my HTML so we can refer it to it. So the main has section, so I'm going to minimize this, and aside. All right, so I'm going to simply come in over here, scroll up, and create section. And over here, I'm going to say float is going to be on the left, so it's on the left hand side, and aside is going to be on the right. So float right. Save, refresh, and let's see what happened. Okay, this particular thing is left, but this particular thing is on the right, sure, and this my awesome blog footer is actually in between. So it's functioning perfectly as coded, but another thing we want to do is we want to set the width of these particular sections small so that it actually covers only the space we actually assign it to. So we're going to set the width over here. So by the way, you know the div elements actually do not want anything on its side, right? So that's why it actually takes up all the space. All right, so if you do not want that, we can say, okay, the width over here should be, let's say, 70%. And for this one, it should be 30%. So 30% of its container. All right, save, refresh, and you see it's working perfectly. This one is on the left, this one is on the right. Perfect. Now, one thing you're noticing immediately is that these two elements are not being contained inside its parent, which is the main. So if I just right click, inspect, and I scroll this up, and you see that this main element over here is actually not covering the full area. You see the highlight over here? And if you remember from our previous video that when you are floating certain elements in the child, these are float left and right, the main container does not realize, the parent container, sorry, the parent container does not realize that its children is something there inside its element. It doesn't know if it's something is there. And to make it realize that, you actually say overflow hidden. Save, refresh, and if I close this, you see that now the main element, if I select this again, is actually covering the full area that it needs to cover. Perfect. So now we have done that particular part of the layout. I'm going to close this, and now I'm just simply going to style the footer as well. All right, so I'm going to come in over here and say footer. And the footer, let's say we want some padding around it to be 20 pixels. And we actually want a border on top of it. So border dash top. I'm going to scroll this up so it's easier for you to look at. And it's going to be, let's say, 1 pixel solid, and the color is going to be light gray, all right, like such. So I do that, and I'm going to actually make the text to be in the center. So text align is going to be center. Save, refresh, and you see that this thing is in the center. It has padding around it of 20 pixels, and you see a small line going through it. So this footer is actually separated. Perfect. So I'm going to leave it over here for this particular video. In the next video, we're going to kind of style a little bit and make this sidebar a little bit more beautiful and the left-hand side more beautiful. And we're going to be done with our design. All right, talk to you in the next video.